Let's go ahead and get started with our workshop tonight. We have a work session on the community satisfaction survey with Greg. Do you want to kick it off, Tyler?
Yep, Greg, come on up. And while he's doing that, I will jump in here. So several weeks ago, I had mentioned to the council that Greg was wrapping up his master's program and needed to do a capstone project. And we were kicking around the idea of a community satisfaction survey. So before you this evening, you have a outline of what that survey could look like. Greg has met with several department heads, all department heads, I guess now at this point, to kind of hone in on what information would be helpful for their own department and internal operations. Tried to take a look at, relevant council goals to see if there's better information we could be gathering on existing goals and need answers on. And then ultimately want to use this information that we get from this process to better inform future council goals. If there's a gap in service or an area that we need to improve on, we would have a point in time of when that data was collected and then be able to do, work to improve that. And then ultimately, future surveys to see how we're benchmarking against that feedback that we get with this initial one. Greg, you want to jump in and share more about the survey as it's proposed in this work session, and then kind of next steps and process and questions?
Sure. Good evening, council. This is a first for me. I've never done a workshop and I've never done a community survey. So this will be kind of a new experience. So going forward, but as Tyler had mentioned, I am finishing up my capstone for my master's, and Jeff had the great idea of potentially doing a community satisfaction survey. And upon looking at it, looks up like a lot of Oregon communities do this periodically to benchmark and then also track improvements or areas that need improvement over time. And so I looked at some neighboring communities and different surveys that were used. There's a couple of popular ones that are used across the nation, which are kind of standardized to compare other cities against. They're often referred to as being expensive according to other cities. And so what I tried to do was put together something that I thought was, some questions that were focused around specifics of Sandy that was customized, but also allowed for questions that could be compared against other cities as well if Sandy wanted to benchmark against those other neighboring communities. And so before you in the staff report, I don't want to just read it here, but I tried to put in as much consideration as I could on how we would reach them, other considerations there. I think the main topic for tonight is going to be kind of questions, but how do we have legitimate responses and how do we handle that, and what kind of information is the council looking for? And so with that, there are a few items in here, some recommendations that I have gathered that I tried to incorporate into the staff report, but I really kind of just want to turn it over to the council to kind of discuss and get a feel on what you do or do not want to see.
First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice work. That's a big lift. So
Thank you.
it's awesome.
If I may add one more piece of information, because I think this might be a question that a couple of you may ask. We have all the questions as we have them identified, laid out as an attachment to the staff report. We envisioned something like a Survey Monkey to conduct this survey, and as such, you'd have maybe an opening slide for each of the different sections, right? So when we're asking about, the community image, community connection, forward progress, and that first question is, do you live within Sandy city limits? That opening slide could either be a map of the city limits so people have a frame of reference of whether or not they do or don't. We have a lot of people that have a Sandy address and think they live in city limits, but they don't. And so we can add additional information or context before each of these sections. So just pointing that out there, or putting that out there, we can frame it as we need to.
Sorry if I might add one more additional thing is online surveys allow you to really handle things like conditionals. So if someone answers no to a question, they won't necessarily see the next 10 questions that pertain to that topic. So if somebody doesn't interact with a certain service or doesn't live within city limits, they might not be asked questions like utilities or something like that.
Okay.
And so that way you're not asking people that can't use a service or don't use a service questions to provide feedback on if they haven't experienced it.
Sure.
So you can use that wisely. in certain cases.
Nice. So that was, because that was gonna be kind of my only thing was to ask, if we're gonna do a Survey Monkey, for those of us who have the attention span of a gnat, and won't take the time to fill out 45 questions, even if they're yes or no. I wondered if we thought about making them smaller and doing them over like an allotted period of time, like maybe a 2-week period, and this is the survey for these questions, and then in another 2-week period, here's people's opportunity to answer these questions. Maybe keep it within like 10 to 12 questions per survey so that people were more apt to complete it and not quit halfway through.
Sure. Any concerns about not having the same population completing the survey? Does that skew?
You'd have to compare the questions, but I think you could get by if you split them into sections, since that seems to be how most of the surveys happen. Health and wellness, or community engagement, or feel, or such. So you could split those into several sections. My time constraint is probably going to be once it launches within 4 to 5 weeks, pending confirming the absolute end date, and then being able to bring the analyzed results back to the council
Yeah.
before it's due.
And in my mind, I mean, it's your survey. You could break it up however you wanted to. I know like for me, I'd get halfway through this and I'd be like, I'm done.
Yeah. It was actually, I think, 75 questions.
Well, that would be the absolute max, I think. And so I
That's all
already
on
have
there
more
now.
than that listed. So there has to be some narrowing down of
Yeah.
questions if we want to add more, especially, or change things. But let me ask, if you were given the opportunity to potentially get a gift card in the event that you answered the survey, would you be more incentivized to sit down and answer those
How
questions?
much money are we talking about?
I don't know, $50?
$50?
Yeah, I might.
How much?
$50. I
Like
was gonna say if it
$50.
was like $10, no,
Yeah,
you
You
know,
pay me $50, yeah. I'll sit
maybe
there and do it
$50,
now.
yeah.
a chance to win $50.
Yeah, you don't get,
Yeah, I
not
don't
everyone
know.
gets $50.
I
We
give
could
up, I give up on, I'm one of those people, like, I'll give up on a lot of surveys or like the phone calls when they call and ask us stuff. I mean, they'll get halfway through and be like, I'm done with this.
I'm a
That's-
sucker for a raffle, so if you
Yeah.
tell me that I can get my name thrown in a hat to win something,
Yeah,
I'm doing it.
all
I
right,
will
all
say,
right.
I've had national polling thing reach out to me with a pre-letter that said
Mhm.
something, would you be interested
Mhm.
in responding to something about, and they'll give me the vial on it, and then by opting in, then I get a follow-up survey or 2 or 3 over the course of a year.
Yeah.
Usually there's $1 or 2 associated with it,
Okay,
but I'm not worried about the dollar part, but I think if you had a short survey, but an opportunity to opt in for a longer, more in-depth, comprehensive thing,
There you go.
so would you be okay if we reach back out to you with additional questions or different topics in the future?
yeah, maybe something like that. And I'd
Okay.
also, just before I forget, going back to your location, I don't know if it's possible with Survey Monkey or maybe somebody else, but I would love to know the region people live in. So keep it anonymous, but do you live in the south part or?
So he's got
north
the
or
zip codes in
city?
here.
Yeah, but that's
You kind of want like the zone of Sandy, northwest, east.
not just, no, within Sandy's fine, I think, but as we go outside of Sandy, because 97055 is a big zip
Yeah.
code. Specifically more in that, okay, the boring south of Sandy, the boring area, or north towards Welch, I think that would be nice. Now, that's not easy or affordable to do.
You meant east to Welch's, right?
Yeah, thank you.
There might be options. You could put a photo of a map
Right.
that
and
has
just kind of-
numbers,
yeah.
and you select which region
Exactly,
you're
like
in.
which zone. you're
That'd be
in.
the easiest way to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Something
that way
like
you could kind of, a lot of people say, think they live in city limits and they don't really know.
But we
Yeah.
want their voices. I mean, this is not a exclusion. We want to, especially with the library questions, we want to know everything.
We want to know everyone, but we also want the ability to filter that information so we can say, residents have this perception, non-residents have this perception. and
Absolutely,
Really
yeah.
kind of figure out where the gap is.
Lindy?
Greg, can I make a suggestion just to put the quality of life at maybe possibly at the end? Because I think when you start with that, you're like, man, life sucks.
Yeah.
But then you go through all these things and you're like, oh, I actually do like that. And I actually do like that. I think it just gives you a better feel for how you actually,
Yeah.
you know,
That's a good
like the
idea.
things that you actually know.
Yeah.
I'd be curious, there's like a lot of, I'm just looking at the safety one, and there's, like, I don't know, 20 questions at least. And so, I guess if we had to cut stuff, doing surveys for the fire and emergency stuff would probably be helpful for you. But I'm not, since we don't provide those services, I'm not sure, I'd probably cut those first. I would like to know about the red light and traffic cameras and stuff like that, we are talking about doing, but it'd be interesting to see, have the departments kind of gone in there, and if you told them they can only have, 5 questions or whatever the number was, could they kind of go in there and figure out which ones are most important to them?
Yeah, when I went around the department heads, I had pages of questions. I hadn't gone through and prioritized some of them here, but I definitely think I would go back to department heads and say, hey, you have up to 5 or so, something like that. What would be your top 5 and pick from those? Some of them are more general. Some departments already do their own surveys, so there's not as many questions. And I want to make sure every department had the opportunity to be represented. But there are inherently going to be some more smaller sections for certain ones. Like transit's kind of an interesting one because you either write it, you use it, or you don't. So there's a conditional at the very beginning, and then you go in and really drill down into information on what people have used or haven't used. But they also survey on the buses. Every person that enters or leaves has the opportunity to do a survey. So they're already getting feedback, but they might not be getting overall community feedback. They're only getting people that ride. But at the same time, like I was saying, you only want to ask questions that you really want to get answers to as well. And so you don't want to ask a question that you don't care about. That might be something like emergency services. As a city, because we don't provide those directly, do we care or not?
Obviously we care, but.
Yeah, well, sorry.
We would encourage them to do their survey.
I'm not using the right word.
I would agree that doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily need to be in there.
Okay.
Does Clackamas Fire
Same with ambulance.
do they
Because
do
that's not-
their own surveys, community surveys?
Not to my knowledge.
I think when you have a lot of questions, if you get rid of some of the lower, more unique questions that may be very specific, and replace it with an open-ended comment box. I think maybe a comment box in each one of these sections might be appropriate, not required, but
Mhm.
tell us something more here.
It would be hard to quantify at
Oh,
mass,
absolutely.
but it
But
would.
it's
you could
really
read it over.
valuable if somebody writes something anyway.
Okay.
My favorite question is, in the past 12 months, have you volunteered your time to some group or activity? I think it's one of those like you can complain.
No.
No, but like keep complaining or come and do something about it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
What? Yeah, I like Lindy's comment. I would also say quality of life and the community image stuff could kind of go towards the end so that we want to know where they live, but yeah, kind of focusing in on the safety, the economy, the transportation, the parks and rec, that kind of stuff, so they can kind of get specific and then think back on what their overall, perception is.
Can I recommend that we relabel economy? Because we think economy, we think nationally, not locally. So can we call that, the business environment or something that we bring it more local? So that we don't pull in national opinions.
Would you be okay with local economy, or do you want economy
I
not
don't
referenced
think-
at all?
Well,
Local
what we
business.
ask about is where do you shop, the businesses,
Yeah.
things like that. So I think if you group it under a title more like that.
Okay.
Where do you work or spend your money, We just want to be careful putting our words compared to what people use, out there, so.
Chris, do you have any comments?
So you guys have hit on mine pretty well. I mean, I thought it was pretty lengthy. I was missing 2 things. One is when I would read a question and I had no experience with it, I had no way to opt out of it.
I saw that.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
there would
like,
be
you want me to guess or?
every Likert question, which is your scale, would have a not applicable or choose not to
No
say.
opinion.
So it would have
Yeah.
that in there.
Probably always want to give everyone the opportunity to not answer the question.
And then this is just a Chris thing. I was really annoyed by the different variations of options. Like I would like them all consistent, like have all 5 options or all 3 options or
That would, yeah,
you bounced between them and I, after I started weighing them, I was like, oh no, I want to go back and change that answer. Cause there was just too many
Yeah.
variations
Yeah,
between
agree,
them, so-
disagree, unimportant, neutral.
a little more
yeah.
consistency between
Yeah, it
those.
just-
It's true.
is a matter of rephrasing the question to say very satisfied or very dissatisfied or something.
And then to the length of it, for me, I just thought maybe you could do a better job, and maybe better is not the right word. You could condense it, because a lot of the questions are overlapping, I felt. And you might be able to narrow that down just to get less questions to be more substantive for the audience. Because I agreed that the length would, after like 3 pages, I was yawning.
Yep.
Is there any feedback on the number of options that you'd like? I mean, do you like 3? Do you like 5 when you're answering a
I like
multiple
5.
choice question?
I like 5.
I like 5 too.
Okay.
It's a broad selection.
Does that include no opinion?
No.
That'd be
No.
6. I was thinking that, yeah, the
I
scale.
mean, like, when it says, do you live in Sandy? I mean, that can't be 5 options, right? It's just, no. but-
Sort of, sometimes. Almost never.
I wish I did.
Think about it like we're doing us sometimes.
Well, and I think you get a broader number of responses too, because if I disagree or if I strongly disagree, those are vastly different answers.
Yeah.
So,
Greg, would it be at all possible to put, time commitment, approximately 5 minutes to take the survey? Because sometimes if somebody asks me to take a survey, I'm different than I think everybody else. I like to do it all at once.
Mhm.
Because once you have me, I'm in. I may not come back again. So I'm biting. But if it's like, this survey should take you approximately 7 minutes, that gives me an end goal so that I can see where I'm falling short answering questions to the average. Just kidding. But if you're looking at something that's, you know.
won.
Yeah, right. But if there's a time estimate and I have, say I have 10 minutes before the kids get home from school or whatever needs to happen. If I have an idea of how long it should approximately take me, that makes me more inclined to want to jump in and do it and get it done.
Okay.
And then know that it's complete and I have some sort of guideline that if I see a thing with 75 questions and it says this should take you 10 minutes, that would be great instead of going, oh my gosh, that's a lot of questions. I may not want to do this now and then completely forget about it.
Sure. That and a progress bar would be something that would probably be on there for online questions, but total approximate time it would take to complete the survey. It would be conditional based on yes or no, that
Right.
it could be faster, but the maximum time would be X. And is there a specific preference anyone has for time? Because then I can go back and say, okay, 10 minutes is going to be closer to 55, 60 questions, 15 would be 75 or so. Some of them
Less
are-
than 10 minutes.
I think
Yeah.
max for me would be a 10-minute
Okay,
survey.
And I would put it at 9 because 9 feels very different than 10. I don't know, but it does,
It's
right?
true.
It does.
Yeah. Yes. As far as demographics of who's reporting this, there's not a lot in there. If we had the area they lived in, that's one. But I wonder if there's other demographic data that would be nice. There's another one that says, how long have you lived in Sandy? I would prefer that to say, how long have you lived in wherever you're at now, So that we look.
resided at your current,
Right, but I
location.
wonder if, do you live by yourself, family situation, is that relevant?
So I did pull some other questions here before the meeting, demographics questions. Type of residence, single family, apartment, condo, duplex, ADU, other, do you own or rent? How many people are in the household? Years living in Sandy based on location could definitely be one of those. Is there preference to the type of demographic questions that you would like to see?
I think the more we have, depending on the number of results you get, the more interesting it becomes. If we get 100 or less, it won't really matter.
Kind of age categories and, whether how many people in your household and the type of house you live on, those 3 questions are pretty helpful.
That makes me, it makes me a little nervous.
Yeah,
just in
that's
our
getting
current
real
climate,
personal.
People get nervous about
Yeah.
it, yeah.
right? Just
Yeah.
because if we're asking where in Sandy you live, plus all of
because
that
this is a
information.
satisfaction survey, I
Right.
don't. My other thing would be, and I get where you're coming from to know how long somebody's lived in their residence, but I think how long they've lived in this area is important too. Especially when it comes to satisfaction,
Mhm.
Because if they're new versus if they've lived here for 20 years.
Mhm.
So I still feel that's important.
Yeah.
One other thing.
I would just group all the
Sorry.
demographics together. Maybe right up front when you're filling the survey out, tell us a little bit about you and then drop in everything else.
One other thing that jumped out at me, sorry, Don. The last three questions under Parks and Rec. Overall level of health and wellness, access to affordable quality food. I mean, sometimes when you check in for your doctor's appointment, those are the sorts of things they ask you. It feels a little bit intrusive going along with all these other questions. That's a little more personal.
Mhm.
And that may turn people away thinking that this is delving into a place different than what you're trying to get the answers to.
We'd much
That's a
rather
senior
know
services
how
session.
satisfied they are with the Sandy's annual fireworks.
It was more or less.
That's the next question up.
Yeah.
on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
Oh,
great.
it was something that was common in other surveys.
Greg, would there be thought to opting out of a category, still showing the questions, so if I'm a reader and I'm looking at the 15 questions you have listed, but I don't really like those. I don't want to answer those next, and I can opt out of the whole department, like library, I'm not interested
Like a whole
in.
section or
Right,
something.
because I'm a resident and I want to take this survey, but I don't really care about these 4 topics and I'm not really experienced or exposed to it. I'm gonna skip it, but I want to give you my feedback on transportation because I take the bus.
I'd have to look and
is
see
that
if that's an
something-
option that could be in there, but it's certainly something that could be incorporated if the technology allows for it.
I'm just thinking from a time standpoint, if you're showing somebody, if you're trying to reduce the amount of time they're on it, are you still getting substantive information from them if they don't take the full survey?
But then when the statistics line up to be accurate, if it's 433 people answered the survey, but only 410 answered.
Well, hopefully you'd
certain
be
parts.
analyzing the subject
Yeah,
matter
that's
within
what I
the
was wondering if we
category
could
group
break
and
it
not
down
the
into-
totality of it.
Yeah.
And that's,
400 people answered this, 397 answered, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Because you don't want to get statistics that aren't, they don't plane together and then they aren't accurate.
yeah. And when you get into more advanced statistics and analysis, because these would be on my report at the end will have what we call the cookbook, which has all the results, how many people didn't answer out of how many
Oh,
total
perfect.
responses and such. And then that will get further abstracted into responses and the recommendation. So there will be the raw data available, but a lot of it will be abstracted into whether it was relevant or not. So you wouldn't see how many people did or did not. You can see total responses or percentages. But when you're comparing, say, 2 questions together for statistical analysis,
Mhm.
those methods are going to account for those, how many responses
Okay.
differ, and that will lower or raise the confidence of
I
those if
just-
you get to that.
Sometimes those things come out and I question the statistics
Mhm.
because they don't always align and you could have, you know what I mean? You're just like, how does that even make sense if you've got blue and red and, you know what I,
Yeah, and this is my probably kind of first attempt to get primary information directly from people. And so I'd be more inclined to also release all information about the responses
that'd be.
so that it hopefully could be used by someone else if they need primary information. Hopefully it's useful.
Do we want to do anything around a Parks and Rec district as far as inquiries or just avoid that?
I don't think so, because this is not that,
Oh, it's definitely not that. I just want to, okay.
yeah, and we don't even ask any.
I mean, there's already enough questions. I'm not
Yeah,
looking for.
well, we
more,
don't
so.
ask anything about, water or sewer or streets. We have safety.
What would we
road
ask? Do
safety.
you flush?
Well,
No, I just, and of course, yeah, I don't know if that's something that, should be on here, but what I'm interested most in, Greg, is to see, for the services that we provide, what, do they use them? For example, how often do you go to parks? At least once a week, once a month, once a year or less? And, when you go to the parks, do you like, is it good or not? And then same thing with trails, and then same thing with the recreation programs that we offer. Do you participate in those or not? And if you do, what's your, satisfaction with that? So kind of just really, because I think that's helpful to know, well, they might have opinions about it, but they never use it or something. Or maybe they don't use it because they don't like the experience they had or something. So
This is just my math mind going. I just have a question, because have we ever done a survey in Sandy before, and what type of response feedback have you gotten? Is it enough statistical data to make a determination on what the population as a whole wants, or is it?
I think that'll be an interesting finding coming out of this.
We had a Parks and Rec survey for the master plan. It was pretty extensive, kind of asking what kind of services they
What kind of
wanted.
feedback did you get? I mean,
Uh,
quantity wise, like, was it 10,000 people or was it
No,
1,000?
No, it was, I want to say it was like probably, 450, 500 maybe. I honestly don't know. It's in the Parks and Trails master plan, but it was enough to kind of give us some insights. There's 4,500 houses in Sandy, and so that's 10% of the houses responding.
And obviously with statistics, a lot of times, back in the day, but even still today, a lot of surveys are done via mail. And so you don't send mail to every household in Sandy. You select a sample size of, 25% or 15%, whatever you need to achieve your confidence of interval. And then you release enough so that based on the average response, which might be 35, 40%, if you're lucky, you would have enough to be able to have a high degree of confidence. So there are equations that help run those numbers for you. Some of them being the first time that Sandy's done this are going to be kind of an unknown. So I guess I probably should have prefaced everything and said this is more of an experiment because I actually don't know what the outcome would be, and I'm actually be interested to find out.
And you said the vehicle for this is SandyNet, right?
Pardon?
The vehicles for this is SandyNet?
Uh,
What you put it out with?
Oh, it's mostly just it's online with the option to, like, for example, if someone didn't have access to online but still wanted to fill out the survey, be able to distribute paper copies upon request. So having the means to be able to reach out and request it.
So website?
It would be an online survey for the most part.
Yeah, but how are you gonna get it to people?
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did have a section that here. Let me rattle off a couple of them. I was probably going to try to send it to everyone that's uses Sandy Source online, try to get out information, pamphlets or information at front desk and at public, city facilities, engage with the public, and just try to gather as much, get it out as much as possible in a cheap manner without, I'm not going to go get radio space or something like that or a billboard or something, but what can we do to increase visibility on the cheap? And if the more money you want to spend, the more you can get that visibility out with things like advertising. But yeah.
I was just figuring with SandyNet, you had emails, and with emails, you would have access to deliver. I just don't know what the spam feature on
I
that.
feel like that might actually violate the privacy policy we have, but
And we could put it on the
Put in the
city's
bill.
Facebook.
Yeah.
We could put it on the website.
Yeah.
We would do some sort of bill insert or message on the
code.
bill or
Perfect.
QR code.
QR
I don't know
code.
exactly what the printer can print, but we would do something like that. So we have the means to reach every household either via email from their utility bill or the newsletter. And for those that don't have some sort of e-communication capability, we could do a direct mailer to all the utility accounts.
I would have a phone line set up with a voicemail that someone could call in, and then I would be willing to drive a paper copy out and then collect it later if I needed to.
And then
direct
back to
mail.
my original question, this would be the
unnecessary.
first time that this type of survey has been used through that type of medium, right?
In Sandy, I don't know if we've ever done a community survey in general, so I would assume so.
Well, the library did one recently. It was very general. The Parks and Rec folks did one back, but it was in 2020. I just looked it up. Didn't have a huge amount, but they also had kind of specific survey of individuals and stuff,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm just being a
stakeholders.
resident here 20 years. I've seen a couple specific surveys come through that I've filled out, but usually when I get a bulk something, yeah, next. Because it's just way too much information. I was just wondering how much data we actually have to support.
A lot of
anything
them,
fast.
like I said, get targeted populations as they call them. So they say, I'm gonna, out of, the entire population of Sandy, we're gonna select 25 on a random basis or something, and then only send it to those. I was thinking more of giving the opportunity for anyone in the community to be able to respond. So we can try to do direct mailers to a certain number of people or pamphlets or find out and say, hey, just redirect you to a website. But I wanted to give anyone the opportunity to be able to fill it out so that we can just collect as much data as possible.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
But my last question on that then comes around control.
Mhm.
So if anybody can fill it out, and all you have is an answer on And then the question that says, I live in Sandy or I don't, how do you propose controlling it only to the residents of those zip codes?
Yeah. I'm hoping, and I haven't looked into it too fully yet. SurveyMonkey has the opportunity to, I mean, they use a lot of things like tracking cookies and such to be able to know whether or not someone's sending a duplicate based on their cookie identity. So you would know if someone's submitting 10 surveys. But also we would hope that we have a high enough response rate that the law of averages will kind of remove those outliers if that were to happen, and it wouldn't sway those numbers significantly. Anything that's outliers, like someone comes in and just says very unsatisfied with everything, are going to be outliers that throw off the averages and will likely be removed because it wasn't taken seriously. It's unlikely that someone is upset about everything of 100 questions. And so, but either way, it's going to throw off the actual median. And so that goes into the kind of the analysis, knowing what IP they came from. Well, I could tell you now, I could tell if it's a SandyNet address or not by looking at it, but also, so we know if it's in the city and it says that it's not, but a lot of the, I'm assuming you would also give me some rough geolocation. So if we know it came from New York or something, it was kind of false. Additionally, one of the other questions it came down to was getting it out to somebody that maybe owns property in Sandy, but lives in another city or something, and giving them the opportunity to respond. It might be legitimate. Finally, if you wanted to enter for something like a raffle, you would need to provide a legitimate, verifiable information to show that you were unique and the actual person. If you wanted to get responses on a household basis, you would only accept responses from one address. If you're trying to be able to get responses from multiple people that potentially are within a household, you would need to accept multiple responses from that same address.
At the risk of throwing too much of my opinion out here, I don't think averages in general are useful from a statistics or a certainly a survey perspective. You think about your own experience with Amazon, and when you look at ratings, generally our decisions are made because of the negatives and the positives. And it's not usually, it's the 4.3 or the 3.7 that wins us over. We always go to, if we're looking to buy it, we're going to latch onto that 5-star review. And if we're looking to pass it, we're going to latch onto that 1-star review. So this is why I really feel like if somebody fills out a survey 10 times in a row, to me, that's a meaningful data point. Somebody cared enough angrily or whatever to tell you 10 times that they don't agree with something. Yeah, and so that's also why I think that the free-form fields will become very valuable to us. If somebody really has a lot of passion about something, they're gonna jot something down there. And to me, that's gold.
Off topic, I learned today that ChatGPT now uses Google Maps to recommend locations for people to go for best businesses. So I learned that today.
Greg, one last question. Could we possibly not have it be named community satisfaction survey? I think it would take satisfaction out of there, just community survey.
Maybe I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Just take the word satisfaction out of the title, just community survey, rather just because immediately you might be like, not satisfied.
Get a Rolling Stones song going through my head there.
I also don't get no. Is that the one?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, the only thing that I was gonna add was the bulk of the ways that we're gonna get this out to people will definitely hit like residents that within the city limits.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard.
But we don't have a lot of means outside of social media to hit anybody that's outside the city limits. So if we could just kind of maybe pump those sites so that they kind of stay at the top, or maybe reach out to the people who run the community pages to just kind of continue to bring that to the top.
Yeah.
I know that's a pain, but
No, I think you can bump it to the top of our social media. I don't know how to do that. I don't do
You
social
can buy
media,
Facebook
but-
ads too.
There you
just
go.
say- And it only allows you if you're within these
Yeah.
geo bounds.
Honestly, I think a Facebook ad would be an excellent way to get this out
I
there.
like that idea as well.
And it doesn't cost much.
No, they're cheap.
It can be cheap.
Yeah,
It can also
that's
be
true.
very
That's
expensive.
true. That's a good point.
Right, but you can set your budget and you can set your geo. and I would concentrate it. I don't know, how many miles outside of town?
I'd go 7.
7,
That's Terra Firm.
7 either direction.
Do we want to consider the Oregon Trail School District?
Oof, and I think it'll go to,
I mean, all those people use our services.
Just so you know, I mean, the Oregon Trail School District goes all the way to Government Camp.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, you're talking big area. So,
I mean, I think I'm not suggesting they don't have as much voice, but I think our bang for the buck in terms of our feedback, if we were to buy a Facebook messaging campaign, would be that 7 miles. I think that's a good target range.
And
You
the
got a
only reason
high
that I-
density set of
yeah, the
people
only
that
reason
live
I
there.
threw that radius out is just, people who are closer to Welch's, they'll tend to do their shopping and all those things up there. It's closer to them. Not to say that they don't come to Sandy, they absolutely do. But it's just gonna capture people who are high utilizers of Sandy, in my opinion, just my opinion.
Not to complicate it, but we can do a radius, but I can also submit a polygon. I could do the actual zip codes and the bounds, so that it's only within those bounds.
Oh.
Like I can get it down to the house level if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Well, that may be a little targeted.
yeah.
What I mean is, so you're not on the border of going into like Multnomah County or
Sure,
something,
sure.
7 miles to the north or
Right.
something.
I think you understand what we're looking for. I think. I don't know what Tyler's budgeted for this, but if we're that. Something like that can be accommodated.
We can certainly absorb a small advertising.
And even with
Budget.
that, it's not like it blasted to everybody in that zone. You'll get 100 or 1,000 hits a week or something, whatever you're buying.
And my goal was to have it open for 4 weeks at least. Time permitting, but after the first week, if we see that we're not getting the responses we want, we can reevaluate whether or not we want to push it harder, or we can lessen up on it if it's not proving to be useful before we go sinking a bunch of money into ads.
I'll be super curious to see how it comes back.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have the people that love everything and the people that hate everything, right? So I'm really interested to see that middle of the road where I'm really happy with this service, but I don't like this thing, and try to identify where the gaps are.
I'm more interested in how many responses we can actually get. Because as I've told before, our difficulty in polling skews everything as a country. So
Well, and
if we can get a good representation, that'll be a tool we can use later.
and I want to hear, the way I put on it is for the folks that actually use the services. So you're finding out if they use it and then really getting their assessment of it. For folks that don't use the services, I would like to know what they think, but it's obviously not as important to them. So,
And, based on how it's laid out, it might be, you can see every question before you answer it. And then that way you can select a group, and if you hit no, all of them go away that are in that section or something like that, or even sub conditionals within those section. If you selected no to one service or service with underneath potentially a public works or something, you would see 4 less questions or something. We don't want people to answer questions that aren't relevant.
Do you want to give them the basic timeline that you have in mind?
Sure. The goal would be, like I said, minimum of 4 weeks, which I think would be an acceptable amount of time to try to get as many responses as possible, or we can gauge whether or not we're needing to be doing more pushing, or if we're actually getting enough responses to begin with, where we say we can just let it go as it's on its own. After that, I'm trying to think of how long it would take. I really would be working backwards from the deadline that I have, which would be the end of winter term. And so I'm going to say ideally end of February would probably be the best. I would want to have it presented and to have everything wrapped up and submitted for that time.
nice.
And I sent off the question. I am trying to get the exact deadline dates that I need to have everything done by, so I can make sure that all my time still works. So I'm trying to answer your question without knowing the exact date in mind myself.
And I assume it follows the school term schedule, so like you're looking.
It's off by a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's due a couple of weeks beforehand so that it can be reviewed and
Brandon says it's an exception, so that's why I say February.
All right. Well, we appreciate the, opportunity to explore this, and find out what comes from it. Thank you for, giving us the leeway to do that. Looking forward to it. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Ready, break?
Let's take a break and get back together at 7. You all for coming. I'd like to go ahead and call this city council meeting to order at 7:01. Let's start off with pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, can you do roll call, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Counselor Mayton,
Present.
Counselor Smallwood,
Here,
Counselor Sheldon.
he should be here any minute. Give him a couple minutes.
Okay, Counselor Ramsayer,
Here.
Counselor Hanley,
Here.
Counselor Hokinson.
Here.
Mayor Walker.
Here. All right, thank you. Next is changes to the agenda. Does anybody else have changes to the agenda? Okay, the only thing I have is that I will be doing, before Tyler's city manager report, I'll be giving a little summary of the city manager evaluation process. And I've got some handouts to give, but you've also been emailed them. So I will be covering that. Otherwise, I think we're going to go ahead and kind of move the public comment to after the swearing in, so that we can go ahead and let those guys get home. And so let's go ahead and do that first. We're going to swear in Officer Austin Davis.
She'll come down.
Oh, perfect. Didn't know it's you.
Right here in the middle.
Or-
Okay, raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I, Austin Davis,
I, Austin Davis,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the Constitution of the State of Oregon
and the laws therefore.
and laws therefore.
And I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge
And I will faithfully, honestly, and impartially discharge
the duties of a police officer during my continuance therein,
the duties of a police officer during my continuance therein
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
to the best of my ability, so help me God.
All right, very good.
Thank you.
And it's me. You want to come up?
Mayor?
Sure.
Great. Chief? All right. And family picture?
Sure.
Get in there.
Chief, can I get you on this one here? Yeah.
Okay.
You want me
Yes, I will. Catch that. I have this toaster.
Hey guys, can I get your signature on this?
Yep.
You guys want a picture together or you get?
Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you so much. No one's jumped in the
Mayor,
line for
Can I get your signature?
I'll take a picture.
A picture together?
Perfect.
Out there?
Congratulations. Nice to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
See you guys.
See you tomorrow. I worked with that guy earlier. I heard that it turned into a whole thing. You'll have to debrief me tomorrow morning.
Sure, we use a lot of big words in our
It's-
swearing in.
It's the same oath we've used for quite some
I
time.
know.
so-
Herein and
Davis, was he a transfer?
Yes, I can tell you something
Oregon City?
further than yes in
Malala.
just a
Oregon
moment.
City or Malala?
Sometime we
There
just
was
ran
no
off through
law.
I saw
just
that.
added
So he's.
I thought that was so
No,
weird.
no. He's ready to go.
Yeah, he spent 2 years in Oregon City.
Nice.
There may be a little bit of, overlap as far as training and, city policies and things like that, but he does not need to go to academy.
Oh, okay, this is Officer Davis you're talking
Yeah.
about? Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, our next agenda item is public comment, and we've got two folks wanting to speak. The first one we got was from Dave Vanderlei. Is that right? Tell me, Vanderlei, thank you.
And then Mayor, also, we do have probably 2 online as well.
Very good.
Yep.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
You'll have 3 minutes to speak, and your letter has been in the record.
Okay.
And yeah, so you're welcome. Go
All
ahead.
right, great. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here tonight to discuss our project Bull Run Terrace, which a few of you were on the city council when it was approved back in December 2022. Thank you for the approval. This morning, I submitted a letter to provide some of you with a refresher and others to bring you up to speed on the long journey we've been on with this project. We've experienced several unprecedented obstacles that eventually led to approval, followed by a moratorium and massive STC fee increases. We did, however, manage to dedicate the 1.755 acre parkland, which now has the final touches being put on it on the long-awaited Deer Point Park. We're left with a project that we've been working on for almost 8 years, having spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, no longer financially viable. I'm not alone in this predicament. Not all have endured the same 8-year journey, but nonetheless, they have found themselves with projects that they've poured their time and money into and are no longer financially feasible. Since our approval in December 2022, the STC fee increases have added over $2.8 million to our project cost. This is additional cost to a project that is already burdened with millions of dollars in cost to extend to Barco Road and connect it to Highway 26. I do understand the predicament that the city finds itself in regarding the need to generate more revenue to fund necessary improvements to the city's infrastructure. However, this massive increase is causing projects to no longer be feasible and will not be developed. As a result, the increase in STC fees will decrease the city's revenue due to the decrease in building permits being pulled. For our project alone, the city is giving up $3,095,000 in STC fees due to the attempt to collect $5,946,000. I plead with you to consider making projects that were approved prior to the moratorium exempt from the massive STC fee increases. Had it not been for the moratorium, many of the projects in the queue would have already been constructed and providing desperately needed housing in Sandy and would have paid the lower fees. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek has stated that Oregon needs about 30,000 more homes each year to meet demand. Across Oregon, she has taken action to make it easier for developers to build quickly. She recognizes that projects that penciled out a few years ago no longer pencil due to multiple factors, including higher interest rate, material costs, etc. In July of this year, the Portland City Council adopted an ordinance that temporarily exempts newly created housing units from STC fees for a period of 3 years or up to 5,000 units. Meanwhile, Sandy City Council has adopted a 92% STC fee increase, effectively prohibiting new housing units in the city. As we navigate through moratoriums and STC fee increases, rendering our projects infeasible, the clock keeps ticking on our land use approvals and ERU allocation expiration dates. For Bull Run Terrace, our land use approval expires in less than a year on December 5th, 2026. And assuming we are granted our last available extension in June, our ERU allocation sunsets in June 2027. Therefore, I'm also requesting that you consider adopting an ordinance to extend land use approvals and ERU allocations by 18 months. In conjunction with a hopeful resolution on the STC fee increase, this will give us the time we need after being on pause once again to meet deadlines and bring much needed housing to Sandy. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay. Next speaker is Scott Clayton, who has also sent a letter to us for the record, which will be entered into the record. Thank you, Scott.
Hi, Scott Clayton. A lot of what I have to say pretty much follows what Dave just said. Want to ask you guys to roll these SEC increases back to when these projects were approved, when we did performas and budgets and looked at, made the commitment to purchase these lots and build these houses. And just consider that with these increases, we can't make these jobs pencil. I think there's been 2 single-family permits pulled since you guys have raised these. And that goes to show that it just doesn't work. Just asking them if you could roll these back to the SCCs back to the price they were during the 22-23 fiscal year when these projects were initially approved. It would really help get these permits bought and get more SCC funds into the city. Thanks.
Scott, can I ask which subdivision are you representing?
We have lots in Hoodview
It's
Heights.
Vista Loop.
Yes, so I think we had 22 lots. I think we've built either 11. So I think we have either 10 or 11 lots left in there. I have some permits at the city ready to issue, but I'm not going to pick them up with the new fees. It doesn't work.
Thank you. And we have some folks online.
I do have one raised hand from Mac Even.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to unmute yourself now. And then you'll have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mac Even. My address is P.O. Box 2021, Gresham, Oregon, 97030. And I wanted to, reiterate what Scott and Dave were saying. With what we've gone through with Hoodview and Bornstead and every other project in the city with the moratorium and the delays we had because of that, that was a significant burden for us. And then, we got through that because we were told we had enough connections to be able to move forward. And so we did. And with the fee increases I'm going to use the Bornstead Road subdivision as an example. But with the fee increases for that project alone, when it was approved, the SDCs would have been $746,234 for 43 homes. Today, under today's number, it's $2,330,929. That's a difference of $1,584,695, which is a 314% increase. That $1,584,000 is more, that's just the difference between the old fees and the new fees, but that is more money than was paid for the land to do the development. Just the difference. These costs, when we anticipate fee increases, we anticipate a 2%, 5%, sometimes they go up incrementally, but a 314% increase is just a project killer. The number of permits that have been pulled since this has taken effect, I think speaks to that. We're all trying to figure out ways to be able to move forward and continue business. And this is making it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to do so. If you would consider rolling the fees back to the 2022, 2023 SDC levels, which is when these projects were approved, we would greatly appreciate the consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else?
Sorry, Mayor. Yes, I do have one more raised hand. I believe this is Tom Orth. Tom, you should be able to unmute yourself now. And please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Tom Orth. I live at 26951 Southeast Forester Road in Boring. And Mayor and councilors, thanks for the opportunity to speak. I spoke to you previously in the year, back in May, I think. And my point at that time was I think that there's going to be a lot of unintended consequences from that decision. And here we are today, and they're not theoretical impacts anymore. They're happening right now, and they directly affect the housing supply, local jobs, and future tax revenues as well. And I don't want to go over the same items that my predecessors did, but with our recent governor's proposal for fuel tax increase, I started to think, well, on the houses that I build, on every one house in Sandy, that is, I calculated it's between 400 and 500 vehicle trips to that house. And then I started to calculate, well, how much is that going to drive up the cost of housing in Sandy, where all those vehicle trips now are paying more registration fees, more gasoline tax on their vehicles, and more employment tax for the employees who are driving to Sandy. Well, then I started thinking, I thought, holy cow, I got 400 or 500 trips per door going to Sandy. And every one of those trips is potential revenue for the merchants in Sandy, all of the merchants. And that's just one house. I think the trickle down effect of this is going to be way huger than what any of us anticipated with less vehicle trips to Sandy. And so I see SDCs are meant to ensure that growth pays for growth, but the current charges assume ideal market conditions. They don't reflect today's interest rates, material costs, or labor costs. And they create a front-end loaded financial barrier that kills all these projects before they start. What I would look for is a balanced temporary adjustment in the SDCs that would allow these projects to move forward to help ease all the strain that we're feeling in Sandy. And once again, I wanted to thank you for your time and your commitment to Sandy.
Thank you, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody else?
No, Mayor, I don't see any other raised hands.
Okay, we don't make a practice of commenting on public, responding to public comment at the moment. We will have probably an opportunity to do that at our next meeting or the meeting after, depending on how, this is kind of a complex issue. So it's probably, and I haven't read some of the stuff that came in this afternoon. So I think there's, an opportunity to kind of take everything in and have a discussion on it. I will say that, we're supportive of the approvals that we gave out already, and we want to see those move forward. We also have, we're kind of in an impossible place with having, we don't have a choice whether to build the sewer and water improvements. We have to. And our wastewater rates have gone up 250% in the last 5 years, and they're expected to increase still. So the less that we collect in SDCs, the more those fees have to go up even more. And so it's all really an affordability issue for all of us, including yourselves. So I appreciate where you guys are at. And also I just, need you all to understand that, what the trade-offs are. When we give here, we have to take there. So it's a challenge. So thank you so much though for coming in and stating your case, and we'll kind of take a look at that. Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment on other topics? Next.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. In response to previous comments,
None were provided at the last meeting.
Okay.
So
I have the consent agenda with the only thing on there is the city council meeting minutes from December 1st, 2025. Can I get a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please?
I'll make a motion, we adopt the consent agenda.
I will second the motion.
I have a motion from Council Sheldon, a second from Council Ramsayer to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. Our new business is the advisory board commission appointments. Who's doing that? Is that?
turn it over to Jeff.
Very good.
Sure, yeah, thanks, Mayor. I didn't really have a speech plan for this one. This is pretty straightforward. We conducted I thought, meet and greet reception that I thought went pretty well, at the last meeting. And we had, gosh, I think it was 7 applicants attend, all the council plus representatives from the applicable boards had a chance to meet and discuss matters with those applicants and kind of get a feel. I know that the mayor's recommendation is that we do go ahead and appoint all those applicants. But this is an opportunity to discuss if the council feels differently. And with that, I'll just turn it back to the council.
And we do have 1 or 2 positions still open. I know one on the planning commission.
That's correct. We do still have a vacancy. We did not receive, there were 2 vacancies on the planning commission. We only had 1 application. So there remains a vacancy there. I believe there's also a vacancy on the Sandy Net board.
Yes.
And there may be, so anyhow, yeah, so we do need to revisit this.
Do we have any openings on transit or did we get that one?
I believe we got 2 applications for 2 openings on transit.
Okay,
Did somebody step down from planning or just not reapply?
One person chose not to reapply.
easy, yeah. Okay, so we will be kind of regrouping in January sometime to kind of decide what to do with that
Yes, that's right.
aspect. Okay, very good.
I just have one question. For the transit board, do we have one at large member? Because we have one applicant that's way outside the city limits.
It's an excellent question, Counselor. Do you want to take this one? This was
You're on a roll. Go ahead.
well, no, it's we discovered that of all of our boards and commissions, the transit board was one that didn't have official bylaws. That I don't know really how this happened, to be honest with you, but they didn't have official bylaws that set membership requirements. So that needs to be handled. And actually, we've already drafted something that Tyler has sort of given his administrative blessing to at this point. But we do need to bring that to the council for your official consideration and adoption here sometime soon. Perhaps when, as the mayor indicated, we can deal with some of this stuff again here in a couple of months. All of this is a very long way of saying we feel as staff that if you're within Sam's reasonable service area, if you're close enough to the city, then that's still reasonable.
Yeah, I've got no problem with
Right.
it. It was literally like, I didn't recall having that as part of transit, so it was just
Right.
a
Yep.
question. If we're gonna make that part of the applicable piece, then I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, I think our feeling is that because of the nature of that service, it doesn't make sense for it to be just city limits. It should
Sure.
be.
And I love
Don't
the-
disagree.
I love the employment in town with employees that probably use that too, so it's a discussion.
Yeah, we tried to be realistic and, not the entire service area, right? The person that owns the coffee shop on 82nd because the bus goes to Clackamas Town Center is maybe not the most relevant, membership body. Or maybe they are, but if we have, more localized interest, but not just within city limits,
So we'll-
seems like a reasonable approach.
We'll bring you something specific, but our recommendation is definitely going to end up including where this person lives anyhow. So
Okay, and so they have 2 open positions and we have 2 names here that we're proposing so that will fill the transit,
that's correct.
right? Okay, thank you. All right,
I just,
Yep.
Jen, thank you for all of your work on getting the packets and all of that put together. I thought it was so helpful to be able to open. And I mean, I'd read through everything before, but opening those packets and being like, okay, this is the guy, this is the person that was this, and this. And even though I didn't write comments or anything in it, it was so helpful to be able to refresh my memory and to be able to sit there in front of those people and know that they had put a lot of time and effort into their applications and then I was able to reference. So it made me feel really smart. So thank you.
Happy to, thank you.
Did not translate well to the online.
Yeah.
But that said, it looked like everyone was having a lot of fun, so I do regret not being able to be here.
I had the same realization when I sat down to do minutes and I was like, there's no recording of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments? May I have a motion, the suggested motion language in the staff report?
I move to appoint 7 individuals to the Planning Commission, Parks and Trails Advisory Board, Library Advisory Board, and Transit Advisory Board as specified in the recommendation section of the staff report.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilor Sheldon and a second from Councilor Smallwood to approve the motion language
and appoint these 7 individuals. All those in favor vote aye. Opposed, vote nay. Motion passes. Thank you. All right. The next thing we have is the city manager evaluation process. And if you look, did everybody get copies of that?
I have some hard copies.
Okay, yeah, if you pass those around, that'd be great.
You got it sent your email.
Yeah, also,
That's good. We have these two.
yeah.
There are 3 different things.
So what I did, just to give you a background summary, is I kind of looked at what the best practices is from, and it's, who's the not the LOC.
ICMA.
Yeah,
the
ICMA.
International City
Yeah.
Management Association.
My CMA, and then also stuff from that Milwaukee had done and Warrenton, I think. Is that right? Anyway, and I just came up with this process that basically we don't really have a consistent process that we've used year after year. So that's one of my goals, is to kind of create something that we can just go back to year after year and not have to recreate the wheel. We may want to do something more in depth in a few years or something, if that's necessary. But as it stands now, we've got an evaluation survey for the council, an evaluation survey that's very similar to the department heads, and an evaluation survey for the city manager himself to do a self-evaluation. And what I'd like,
Where did this come from again?
a combination of Milwaukee,
Yeah.
Warrenton, and ICMA.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could save some trees.
Can I ask why you picked those or picked those?
Yeah, I just was talking to, mayors and stuff at different sessions and stuff and asked, I think there was the last LOC conference, they had a city manager evaluation presentation. And so I was there listening, and I took some of the stuff I learned there. That's on our Google Drive on Sandy's Google,
I showed it somebody.
City Council Google Drive, if you want to look at that more. But my hope is that, don't worry about it. I didn't take any, so, because I have them here. But my hope is that, or what I'm looking for is for you all to kind of review these questions and survey and see, does that get to what it is that we're trying to evaluate? And what I'd like to do is kind of get any input, additions, subtractions, editing, by December 22nd, so that we can go ahead and finalize the survey and then have this, send the survey out. I'm hoping to kind of have Counselor Hokanson as the president of the council kind of help me incorporate any of the comments that we get and finalize this, and then have send out the finalized questionnaire. Those will then be sent back to the human resources head and you want to, and once she compiles all those, then that will be kind of then brought to our January 15th city council meeting. We'll have to have you guys fill those out by January 9th. So my intent is to kind of try to evaluate these in executive session on January 15th. So kind of working back from there, if you can give me any comments or changes to this by December 22nd, get the finalized surveys in by January 9th, and then we will be doing executive session on January 15th. The only change to that process is that I've asked Tyler to kind of submit his questionnaire to Josh, because it talks about compensation and things like that. So, yeah. And then, like I said, the executive session will be held annually, hopefully, to discuss the performance review. The HR director will attend an initial executive session to provide an overview of the compiled comments, current market compensation data, and answer any questions posed by the council. Once the HR director departs the meeting, council will have time to discuss the review without staff present. Council is encouraged to discuss any performance-related concerns or successes. In 2 weeks, then 2 weeks later, the HR director will return to a second executive session to address any updates council would like to make to the performance review. When ready, the council will invite the manager to join. So the scoring criteria is, kind of sort of like what you all asked for somewhat. There's 4, it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Exceeds expectations, fully effective, developing, needs improvement,
and no opinion or non-observant.
Do we want to put any definitions around those, or any guidance? The one, particularly for me, would be the difference between, obviously needs improvement. I think we don't need to define that one. And I guess if they're all needs improvement, Tyler, I guess we're not worried about it, but you know. But it exceeds expectations versus fully effective. I'm not sure that unless, go ahead.
Well, and kind of to your point, is there a reason why we have such a tight timeline? Because we haven't really discussed any of this, and I get that you want responses by a week from today, but then for an executive session, 2 weeks after that seems like a really tight timeline.
Well, I think, yeah, okay. That's the first executive session. Then that's where we kind of discuss everything and finalize our score. And then, you know, if we have consensus, then at that meeting, we can make a decision January 9th or January 15th. If we don't, we can always bump it to a second executive session to get more information or discuss it more, or what's your preference?
I just was asking why the timeline was so tight. Normally, we discuss this a little more thoroughly, I feel like.
When did we do the 360? Was that 1 year ago or 2 years ago? Last January, December, January.
I think it started in November. And then concluded in late December, early January, if I remember correctly.
I do like that was kind of intense, and this is light as a, you know, I wouldn't do a 360 every year. So I like this, the shortness of this.
Mayor, can I just ask about the dates? I think the 15th is not a Monday.
Okay, what did I say?
So do you just mean the second meeting in January?
Yeah, that's what, I might have been looking at December or something.
I think in
So
that case, it
meetings
would
are
be
the
the-
19th, it's the 19th.
It would be the 20th because of the.
Oh, right, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
What's the first meeting?
I don't have her
Looks like the
process in
fifth.
front of
We
me.
have the 5th.
So I would respectively ask if we could at least delay at one council meeting, because I will be out of town the 1st through the 11th, and I really would like to be a part of that.
We're not, it's not on the agenda for the 5th. Is that what you meant?
Okay, we're not meeting, okay, our first meeting would be the,
20th.
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But I'm asking for, you know, so that they can compile everything.
Yeah.
And we can move that out if we need to. I kind of figured I'd give them, you know, a week to compile everything.
Right.
But if
Just so
we
you
need
know,
more
I'll
time,
be
I can
out
certainly
the
do
1st through the
that.
11th.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fairly short survey, but if we need, do we want to kind of extend this, or what's your thoughts?
Just personally speaking, I've just accepted another role in my personal life. So I'm doing double duty and I go on vacation in a week. I'm just not seeing myself being able to give you articulate time this week to review this. I need more than a week.
Sure.
I definitely by the end of the year, I could do it,
Okay.
but I just don't think I could do it in a week.
All right. So if you had by the end of the year, then is 9 days then after the 1st of January to fill out the 5
Oh, yeah.
criteria?
Yeah, that was easy.
Okay.
It's just the review of these questions,
Got it.
getting it back.
Okay, I'll even
you know,
move it
proper
to the
feedback.
12th, because since the council meeting's on the 20th, that gives them at least a week to compile. So Jeff, can you kind of note that for the, we'll ask for comments by December 31st,
Mhm.
and then we'll ask for the survey. We'll incorporate those comments, and then we'll ask for the survey to be sent out right after that, and have the survey sent in by January 12th
Okay.
for review at the January 20th meeting.
Okay.
And if we need to go at another meeting after that to finalize it, we can do that.
For that process, you mentioned that you wanted to work with me. At what point would you be working with me?
No,
Yes.
Oh, wait,
What's that?
Josh has.
I have a question, but you go.
Okay, sure.
So-
Well, I just thought, you know, for the comments that came in as far as if people were
And so
commenting on what the,
what the questions should be, and so those questions will be due at the end of the year now, right? Any comments that we have to the
Right.
questions will be due at the end of the year?
yeah, but I mean,
That's when I'll be unavailable for 11 days. I'll be out of the country. So apologies.
can I get a second, all
So
of you?
my question is,
Okay,
I'm trying to understand the mechanics of comments about the questions, where those are going to, and who and what is happening with those comments. in light of public meetings law
Mhm.
considerations.
Facebook.
Is there a meeting at which council is discussing those comments and finalizing this document, or is there a staff person those comments are going to? That's why I'm trying to
Okay,
understand that piece.
well, I could see I
Is,
didn't anticipate all the
yeah,
questions, but that's great. That, you know, I'm just trying to kind of come up with a system that we can kind of then duplicate every year rather than having to create this wheel every year. So what I'm hearing you say is that we can't have council president or even another counselor and me get the comments from everybody else, or, you know, it could be sent to Jeff and he could provide us the feedback. And he could sit down with us and just kind of refine these questions if they need to be refined.
If there's more than, if there's a quorum of you providing comments about this document outside of a public meeting.
On our own, I mean,
So I mean, even if just like 3 counselors send their comments to the mayor,
if they send them to Jeff,
if they send them to Jeff, and then Jeff is making the final decisions about what goes in the survey.
yeah, we can't do that.
So really the question, Mayor, would be how long does the council need to actually provide the input after the process is approved? If it can be a pretty quick turnaround, then we can still stick to this schedule, because if people give feedback to me by New Year's Eve, then I can bring it to the council meeting on January 5th for official adoption of the process.
okay,
And then if you want to tell folks that they only get 7 days to provide that input, then I can take that on the 12th, turn it around for the meeting on the 20th.
okay. Does that seem, I mean, I'm flexible with whatever needs to be and whatever works for you all's schedules, so.
Works for me.
Yeah, I just need the upfront time to review it. Once
Yeah.
it's reviewed,
Right.
the rest of it's
Yeah.
fast, so, yeah,
All right,
as long as we're following law.
all right,
Okay, so
What do you
any
say?
feedback about the process, go ahead and send that to me.
uh-huh,
And then we will
Process or questions.
process or questions,
uh-huh.
Surveys.
right?
Okay.
And then you'll see a final version of this for adoption on January 5th.
So Jeff, just to help, will you? I know it would come out in the meeting minutes, but will you memorialize what our plan of action is
Yeah,
here?
yeah,
And send it out
Yeah.
like shortly after this, so
Sure.
have something to reference for timelines and stuff,
Right.
please.
so we'll disregard
I'll
what
just
you
do
guys sent
whatever-
before the
whatever's
meeting
sent.
and you'll get a new email after the meeting, so.
All right, so coming back on the, we kind of got derailed on my what is exceeding expectations versus fully effective versus developing. I think, like I said, we know what needs improvement, developing, what is, can we just talk about what that means to each of us right now? I mean, I know in general, I don't like to be graded as developing, but you know, it's something.
That to
we
me
do in
would be, it
schools.
does not meet,
Pardon?
because developing would mean that you don't meet.
That's what it feels
Yeah.
like, that I don't meet expectation.
I disagree
What
with
do you
that.
want that to mean?
I do.
What's
Hundred
that?
percent. Maybe it's just because of you, but I don't know. No, I disagree with that. I think everybody's developing as we go along. I think especially as you're moving into new managerial roles, there are things that you're still learning and thus developing in. So you're one step above the needs improvement. I don't see that being
Okay.
negative at all.
Couldn't you be, though, and I'm just for argument's sake, because I agree with you, you're always developing, but couldn't you be fully effective and developing at the same time? Because I can be fully effective in my role, but still learning as an individual or as a leader. So that's where I get confused with the developing.
I just like a
I
little
think if
blurb
you're-
to go with this, so that when it goes to heads of departments and everybody else, we kind of scale it the same way.
I can try to find those definitions if that would be helpful.
And is this like golf where you want the lowest? It is, because you want the lowest score possible.
Yes.
Right?
Okay, good point.
So, I mean, I don't think we need to get wrapped around the axle of this. I mean, at the end of the day, that we can all agree, I think that this is subjective at best anyways, no matter how you do these. Because there is no graded anchored criteria here. But I will say though that if we were looking at a holistic piece, Chris, I would agree with what you're saying. But where this is broken down into multiple categories, I think you can be fully effective overall, but still developing in a specific category.
Yeah, I just listened to what Counselor Haney said about the lowest score possible. I was thinking counterclockwise of that. So if I wanted to score somebody better subjectively, I would just put them to 2, or 3 is in that. It's for my own head's sake, that's all. When I hear that we're developing 2, I think of it as a great analogy of a leader, but I think you could be in a positional, you could be meeting or exceeding or exceptionally well at that position and developing yourself at the same time, is just how I see it. That's just why I'm not argumentative about the term. But looking at the scoring, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're wanting the low score. If I'm putting somebody a higher rating, fully effective or developing would be my quandary. And I'm just trying to figure out how to put them. And I think just having a definition to rely on would be better for me.
Do you want to reverse the scoring to be 4 as exceeds?
Yeah, I think it's irrelevant. It just depends
Something we
on,
know.
yeah, it's either way you go. So
I don't think it matters as long as it's clear, right?
Right.
And for me, developing is like, this is a process that can be used for regardless of who the city manager is. Not that we're looking to change that, but my point is that, this was developed to kind of evaluate city managers that may be new, and so they are still developing their skills. And, I think we had that somewhat with Tyler, but, he was pretty much, fairly hit the ground running when he came on. But yeah, there was probably a couple things that he had to kind of, if not, he was developing on, one of those things was just that he had so many plates being spun, just trying to address all the projects was a challenge. But, so I think if I was looking at it, from his first year, I would say that he was still kind of developing that priority, ranking and putting out brush fires versus delegating and those kind of things. I thought, to some extent, he was still developing that first year with those kind of skills. But since then, I've kind of gotten a better assessment that he is pretty fully effective with being able to delegate and manage multiple priorities and all. So that's an example for me of what developing versus fully effective would be.
How do you quantify developing them? Like, to me, you either meet expectation, exceed expectation, or don't meet expectation.
So I think, I'm going to throw something out there as a definition, potentially, based off what I heard from you, is that if we look at fully effective as covers all the bases, you're checking the boxes, you're doing the job, right? Then developing would be, I think it's more situational, new in the role, still learning the ropes, something along those lines that you're, because if you're not learning the ropes and you're not new, you need improvement. Right? So to me, that would, and then obviously exceeds would be anything above that, where you just think somebody's a rock star or something.
Yeah, and I get that, I guess, and again, I'm not trying to argue neither here nor there. To me, like the needs improvement piece, I think sometimes is looked at as negative, whereas I've always felt that the needs improvement kind of means that you're still building that skill set, so you're still working toward, versus does not meet, because does not meet, that means that you're failing in some aspect.
Right.
Whereas the developing thing, like you and I would completely probably sit down and disagree on what that means. And so to me, then it becomes very subjective.
Right.
And which is something that you, in my opinion, you don't necessarily want in an evaluation, but.
So I'm not so worried about what we define it, as long as you and I interpret it more or less the same. Because in the end, we're going to probably average or add things up, and it would be nice if somebody's really generous with the double E's and someone isn't, that we more typical.
What if there was a 5 that does not meet, and then that puts developing right in the middle?
I'd feel better about that if we're insistent on having that in there.
Okay, so if we had a developing / needs improvement and it does not meet, that would be clear.
Well, I would just add a number 5 that says does not meet.
Well, I know we've got a big executive session to get through, so I don't want to belabor this too much.
So we'd add does not meet as number 5, and then are you okay with those definitions that I threw out for the others at that point?
I'll kind of take a look at what the definitions are and that, been established, and
okay,
try to put something in there that we can all understand. I mean, ultimately, I think it is somewhat subjective as to what incidents people are thinking of when they pick a number. So,
I'm happy to provide what I jotted down there to you for your consideration. If you can read my scribble.
great. Okay, well, the next agenda item, thank you for doing that. We'll send out another email with the new dates. And then the next item is the, excuse me, the report from the city manager.
Yeah, I'll be very, excuse me, I'll be very brief since we have an executive session following this, but just wanted to say welcome to Austin Davis. Happy to have him here and one step closer to a department that is, I don't want to say fully staffed because then I jinx it every time I say that, but one step closer to a robust staffing level in the police department. And then the last thing I'll share is that, we had a ton of rain, that's a technical term, last week, and the treatment plant performed exceptionally well. We can see the tangible benefit of all the I&I work that we've done to reduce the flows going into the plant. So just a shout out to the public works staff for continuing to, take on all the work that comes along with operating a stormwater and wastewater facility and making sure that we are managing it appropriately. And that's all I have.
Can you talk about the extension or lack thereof for the facility plan?
We submitted an extension request and had some clarifying or follow-up questions at the end of last week, on Thursday or Friday. We responded to those requests, but we have not heard back officially on whether or not that extension has been granted, unless something came in the last half hour.
But we're officially out of compliance now, right? If they don't extend it.
If they don't extend it, we have until the 31st, so maybe there's a surprise.
There's no other council.
We might have to call a special council meeting. I mean, that's a conversation that we'll have with our legal representative.
You answered my question.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But as soon as I hear whether it's been granted or not, I will pass that information along with the council. I'm operating under the assumption that it will be granted, but we'll see.
Okay, Don?
Very disappointed in my voice that I have not been able to spend more time in the park this year. It's one of those things I really look forward to, and I've had to farm that out to other people, but thanks for everybody for the Winterfest. It's definitely, in spite of the rain. And Tickle Creek, we may have to rename. Tickle Stream, River, I don't know. I don't know if you saw the pictures of it, but it looked pretty intense. We had a very interesting wastewater committee meeting, but given that we'll probably get an extension, then that whole subject will come back to council here. So I'm just going to postpone my thoughts on that until we meet as a council. That's it.
No report this week.
I have a transit meeting on Wednesday, the last one of the year, obviously. On Thursday, I was invited to attend Sandy holiday employee lunch at the community center, at the senior center. It was really a nice experience to see everybody in one room. All of the people that put all the hard work into making the city run and being in a situation where we're not all, kind of doing our jobs and them doing their jobs and, me volunteering to watch. But it was really cool to see all the people and to hear all the years of service and all the dedication and all the departments. And so it was a really cool experience, and it was nice to see, and all the gratitude and the commitment that goes into making the city what it is was really cool. I enjoyed it. I sat in on court today with Judge Brisbane. It was her last day in the chair today. There were several arraignments and several trials, actually. She said it went really much longer than usual. But it was nice to see how she ran her courtroom, how she dealt with the people that were in here to pay their fines, to go to trial. And she was kind enough to give me a few minutes of her time to kind of let me know, let me ask questions about what I was hoping to see in the next person to replace her. And so that was really generous of her to give me her time on her last day, but sad to see her go. She's really a really fair and explained everything and was very just in control of the situation. And it was kind of her to give me the time to ask some questions, and hopefully we can get somebody in here who can work up to the level that she has provided the city with. And if we're lucky, we'll find somebody has the skill set that she brought with her for all these years. I don't think we need Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Winterfest is great, however you celebrate. And I'm gonna bow out for the year.
Thank you. That's cool.
That was the chair, by the way.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't have anything to add tonight.
No report.
I spent the morning with Chief Husky and his officers for Shop with the Cop 2 weeks ago on Sunday. And that's it. Thank you, Chief. That was fun.
Thank you for doing it.
Any update from Parks and Rec?
Nope, didn't have a meeting.
Did you?
This
you on that
Wednesday,
tour
they have.
Of the new
I was not.
park? Okay. All right. Thank you. I did go on the tour and it was really very cool. We have that new play structure is like a one of a kind in Oregon for being all inclusive, the whole thing. There was, kind of comments about the opportunity to put more accessible surfacing down to get to the thing, because the engineered wood fiber works for most folks, but not everybody. So the way it works is that if you can get the wheelchair up to this one part of that structure, then the kids can go all over the structure. So it's the first of its kind in Oregon. And I think, and the surfacing is kind of very grippy, and yeah, it's really going to be amazing. I was really, it's just incredible. There was some additional fencing, I think, that they were proposing to contain the kids. Commissioner Hanley was recommending that. So it was really good. It was a great review of the facility. So otherwise, the Water Wastewater Commission for the League of Oregon Cities selected me to be on their wastewater committee, talking about policies and things like that. So I'm excited about that and kind of how we can get some progress there. I attended the employee luncheon with Councilor Ramsayer. It was wonderful. Those guys worked so hard, and it was the food was excellent, and it was just a wonderful, heartwarming kind of show of gratitude to all the employees for all the hard work that they put in. There is a library task force presentation, the outcome of the library task force from this summer. It's being presented to the commissioners tomorrow at 3:00 on Zoom. I'll send you a link to it if you want to listen to it. And finally, we do have a couple of municipal judge applicants to consider. So we'll be kind of following up on that. But I'm really thrilled that you got to go to the court. That's neat. So yeah, that's all I have. Okay. Anybody else? Good of the order?
I think we did have a wastewater meeting on the 10th. But we just got a financial overview of the wastewater. That's really all that was.
Right. That you're talking about last Monday's meeting? Right. So that was on the 8th. Yeah. I think. No. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So that was, we had a meeting. There was a lot of information presented. Let's see. I think, Tyler, why don't you?
Yeah, I mean, there was several questions from the subcommittee, and so we're working on answering those questions and refining the presentation slides so that there's a clear, message. There was confusion around some of the context that was on the slide or how some assumptions were made, and so we want to button that up before we share that with the rest of the council.
Because it created just a lot of questions for how did we get here, and I think on the week that we were supposed to get the final, wastewater plan unveiled to us, there was just all of a sudden a lot of other questions. So
it incorporated quite a bit of some of the talking points that we've had with a neighboring community that we're exploring, a potential researching a potential connection with, and so there's engineering speak and finance speak, and so trying to hone in on a more digestible format and making sure that we have all those questions that were initially asked answered.
For the Gresham alternative, they did kind of have, they'd looked at 4, only I think 3 were at all viable. 2 of those were more likely, and of those, they picked the cheaper alternative. So they did have a proposed line if, you know, if that option's pursued, so. Do you want to add anything else to it?
Yeah, no, I just forgotten to mention that we
Yeah.
had that, because it just popped in my head. So.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and adjourn the city council meeting and start the executive session. I'll go ahead and read out the required stuff. Announce